Welcome to the Breech Birth podcast. I'm Sasha Hopkins, private midwife, breech birth educator, and your host. This is a space to hear the real, raw, and powerful stories of women who have experienced breech birth in all its layers. Each episode features honest conversations with women who've experienced breech firsthand, offering insight and reflection. This podcast was born from the knowing that these stories need to be heard to inform, connect, and reclaim the story of breech birth. Whether you're navigating breech birth yourself, supporting others, or simply curious, welcome and thank you. Hi, Kirsty. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
To give a bit of context for those listening, could you share what year your baby was born?
3. Had to think about that for a second.
And where were you located?
North Queensland, Townsville.
And what kind of care did you receive during your pregnancy, labour, and birth and postpartum?
Private midwife, so home birth.
Yep, amazing. And did you have a vaginal or a caesarean?
Vaginal.
And how many weeks were you?
38 and 3.
Beautiful, very precise. Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a stay-at-home mum, homeschooling mum, and I have a 4.5-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. He's 2 next month. That's my breech baby. And my life is dedicated to my beautiful children. Yeah, we live in North Queensland and just have our own little place in paradise up here. So
thank you. So you said that you've had a bub before your breech. Do you want to give us a bit of a background from your first birth experience? Because often that can give us a bit of an indicator of why you chose the path you chose for your next.
Yeah, of course. With my first, I had booked into the birth centre, and with her, I kept going into preterm labour, or I just had irritable uterus, so it was either or. It depended on the day of the week, I guess. Spent a bit of time in the hospital, in and out, and my husband works away, so it was quite hard being by myself most of the time. And then we ended up getting more tests and things done and ultrasounds, and it kept coming back of low fluid, and I was getting sick of being poked and prodded, and I was like, all right, let's just do it. Let's just get her out of me. We're done. So I ended up getting induced 37 weeks on the dot, had my waters broken, and then contractions started within 30 minutes. I was 4 centimeters dilated from 32 weeks. So it was pretty quick, like a 6-hour labour. She was born in the afternoon. And yeah, I ended up having to have the monitors on my belly all the time, and my husband sat there the whole time with his hand on it to make sure that we would get Bub's heart rate the whole time, because we were having a lot of decels like during my preterm labour stints. So he really wanted to make sure that we kept her heart rate, and he didn't want me to go and have surgery or anything. Then I had trouble getting my placenta out, and that ended up having to get an obstetrician pull it out, and yeah, that wasn't a great time. Lost a bit of blood there, but everything was fine afterwards. And then because of all the poking and prodding and the pushing of trying to find something wrong, it felt like they were trying to find something wrong all the time. I said to myself, I was like, I'm not doing that again. I want to be at home. I want to trust myself. I want to trust the people that are surrounding me, and I'm just going to be at home. So that was the push in general for the first time. And then I fell pregnant again about 2 years later, and that's when I would have been less than 2 years actually. And I had a miscarriage with that pregnancy, and I was treated very poorly by medical staff at the hospital, and that really prompted me to home birth again, because I didn't want to be in that space. Didn't feel right to be there when I had already just had that negative experience, multiple negative experiences. So yeah, home birth was definitely, it was right there, ticking the boxes for me then after that.
Yeah, okay. And so you fell pregnant. You obviously made that plan for future birth that, right, I'm having a home birth. Some women I know reach out to midwives before they even fall pregnant. Did you do that, or did you wait till you fell pregnant?
So with my first, I reached out to, there was only one private midwife practicing in our town at the time, but I had reached out to her as a lactation consultant for my first pregnancy, because I'm one of those people. I hired a doula, I hired a lactation consultant, I asked 100 million questions. My doula was like, I'm going to keep your questions and just give them to my clients, because that's how many questions I asked. I just wanted to make sure everything was the right fit. Like I prepared myself. I didn't have a village. I knew I didn't have support. So I made sure I got that support. So I actually hired her as my lactation consultant with my first. And she was so just she was like a mum to me. She still is like a mum to me. She's so beautiful. But I also actually am a birth photographer myself. So after giving birth to my first, that's when I picked up a camera and I was like, everyone needs to see this. Like everyone
Yeah.
needs to have photos of their own birth. Like, and it also helps people like jog their memory of you're in the birth space and you don't remember things. So I was like, I need to do this too. And so I work with her a bit. So whenever I get clients that do home births and things, she's there and I'm taking photos of her all the time. So we're actually pretty good friends as well. But yeah, I reached out to her for my second pregnancy and she helped me through my miscarriage. And then obviously, as soon as I peed on the stick, she was probably one of the first people I told. I was like, hey, so this happened. So it was pretty simple from then. Like she was going to be there.
It is such an honour as midwives to be one of the first people to find out because they're
Yes.
like, you're available, right?
You have to be. Like I may be only like 4 weeks, but you have to be available.
Yeah. Sometimes I've actually had clients I haven't told my husband yet, but I needed to make sure that you were available. I'm like, okay, cool. So do you want to take us through the journey of your pregnancy, what it was like, and go on from there?
So I could have 100 more babies, but I just don't like being pregnant anymore.
Okay.
I can give
Yeah.
birth. I'll go through the labor and everything, but I just don't want to be pregnant anymore. It was so uncomfortable. Although this time I had a winter baby, so like my largest part of pregnancy was like in a cooler month. Like here in Townsville, winter lasts for 2 days. Like it was still hot. I was just sore and tight, and I see a regular chiropractor as well, so that did help. But I wasn't having a great time being big, and I went over that was my longest pregnancy because my first was 37 weeks, and I didn't know how to wait anymore. So I was like, oh, is it happening now? Is it happening now? Like I didn't like being big anymore. And I was just like, oh my God, is this going to be over with already? And I remember I took this photo of myself, just like a selfie, and I just looked like death. And then my belly had dropped, like the top of my belly was like a tabletop and it was so round at the bottom. We knew we were having a boy, so like people were like, oh, whatever, like carrying lower and things like that. But he had dropped like really far down. And I was like, oh my God. And I think that was 7 days before I actually had him. So like he was proper getting ready. But I had all my initial appointments with my midwife. She would come to my house and we'd do like the belly palpitations and everything and check for Bub. And she was always like, yep, that's his head down there. He's engaged and all these things. And I'm like, okay, so he must be kicking me in the ribs because my ribs were always so sore. I remember my chiro would always like dig in under my ribs and I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. But it wasn't his feet. It was his hands. He was punching me and it was his head. But I mean, he could have turned 1,000 times. We don't know. I had my initial ultrasound and then my 20-week, like the morphology ultrasound. And then I didn't have anything else after that. And then, yeah, the day before he was born, I was like, I'm so done. I need to get this kid out of me, please. So there's this big bouncy pillow that kids jump on, like those rainbow pillows. You probably see them at like caravan parks and things.
Yeah.
And I took my daughter there and I sat in the middle and I was like, bounce it out of me, bounce it. I had all these kids. I think it was like after school, all these kids were bouncing around me and I was like, yes, get him out, get him out, get him out. I also did the odd wives' tale, went to Boost Juice and got a very large straight pineapple juice. It's like, oh my God, hoping that would help. And then because during my first pregnancy, kept going into preterm labor and it kept lining up with when my husband was coming home. So it was always whenever we'd have sex. And he was like, I'm not having sex with you this pregnancy. So because otherwise I'd keep going to preterm labor. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And that night,
that's a long time of no sex.
Well, we did. We did. But that night I was like, please just do it. I need to get him out. Just let's do it. And I think it worked because it was 3 a.m. I wet the bed. And I messaged my midwife. I'm like, well, at first I tapped my husband on the shoulder and I was like, I think I just peed myself. Like, because I knew what broken waters felt like because it was very like slimy and warm and everything when I had my waters broken. But this just felt like I'd weed myself and I was like, oh, maybe I really must be incontinent in this pregnancy. But yeah, I went to the toilet and wiped, and there was like a little bit of bloody show, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is happening!" Yes, like I was so excited. So I said to my husband, I was like, "Oh, can you just go start setting up the birth pool?" Because we were setting it up in the lounge room, and I had all the windows were going to be blocked out, the fairy lights done up, and everything. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Like tired himself, 3 in the morning, and he's like, "Oh, just like." Waltzing off out into the lounge room, doing everything really slowly, as men do. And I messaged my midwife, and it was probably about 10 past 3 by the time I messaged her. I was like, "Hey, just messaging you because I don't think it's that urgent, and I don't want to wake you if it's a false alarm. But I think I just peed the bed. So let's just go with I peed the bed." And then 5 minutes later, I'm on the bed and I'm on all fours and I'm mooing like a cow. And I was like,
Wow.
I think I need to call my midwife. Like it just started. It came on so quick, like without warning.
Yeah.
I called her and I was like, I'm one of those people that's like, I've got to know what I'm doing right now. And I'm on the phone to her and I'm like, so what do I do? Like, where do I call you? Am I calling you back now? Like, what are we doing? Tell me what to do. And she's like, oh, just plot along, set up your birth space, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, I can try and do that. I was feeling fine. And then within, it was probably like 10, 15 minutes after that, I started to get even louder. And then I heard my daughter wake up. So I must have been pretty loud. Didn't
Mhm.
wake the neighbors up though. But yeah, she had come out and she's like calling out, "Where's the cow?" "There's no cow, it's mummy." So my husband and her making jokes in the lounge room, filling up the birth pool. And I've also called my birth photographer as well. And she got there before the midwife. And she was helping. I'm like in my logical brain still. Did not go into my birth brain whatsoever. So when people say you go into a birth brain, you go into the zone. I was
Mm.
never in the zone. I was helping. I was getting pots and pans out to heat up water. I was making sure everyone was doing their jobs because I need to know what's going on. Yeah, they were starting to heat things up, and then I remember I said to myself and my photographer, "I don't feel too good. I feel really sick." And I was like, remembering that feeling of transition with my first, I was like, "Oh God, this is it. Like he's coming and he's coming now." I called my midwife and I was like, I didn't. There was no more breaths in my voice. It was get here now. And she was like, "Okay, I'm coming." I was like, "Where are you coming from?" Because she lives a little while away, so she lives a little bit north from us. Could be an hour-ish. But she was staying with her daughter in town, and I was like, "Oh my god, where are you? Are you coming from home, or are you coming from hers? Like, where are you coming from? I need to know the timings because I also live a little bit out of town, so it's quite a little bit of a drive to me." So I'm calculating in my head, like, okay, you'll be here in like 45 minutes and then get off the phone and that's it. And I'm in and out of the shower. I remember as soon as a contraction stops, I wrap my towel around me and I'll go back out into the lounge room to make sure everyone's setting up the birth pool still. And then I feel another one coming and they were coming real quick. I said to my birth photographer, how do I do this app, like the contractions app? Like she's like, just turn it on between contractions. So then like the stop part is your contraction. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because I can't think in my head to press the button when I'm about to have a
Yeah.
contraction. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And it literally straight away was like, go to the hospital, go to the hospital, go to the hospital. And I was like, I'm not going to the hospital, but thank you. And I just sent a screenshot of that to my midwife. And I was feeling very pushy, but I didn't feel pushy at the same time. I just kept feeling, I guess, feeling like you need to poo is that pushy feeling. When I had my first, I definitely was doing a poo at the same time as pushing her out. And they would wipe me, but leave the wipe nearby, and I could smell it. And it was
Oh,
just not a great time. And I kept saying, have I done a poo? Have I done a poo? And they're like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, I don't need to know because I'm embarrassed. I need to know because it stinks and it's getting me off. Like, I just like get rid of it. Oh, so this time I was like, I said to my birth photographer, I was like, oh, I've done a poo and I can't wipe it. I can't get up. I can't, what's going on? And she, MVP, this girl, she's like my best friend. She wiped my bum. She cleaned poo off my shower floor while I'm mid contraction. She is incredible. Like, if you want a birth photographer like that, hire me, and also hire my friend. But basically, just a doula with a camera. It's beautiful. So she would clean it all up for me. It was amazing. And then I think it was like 5 minutes before the action happened. That's when my midwife turned up, like literally 5 minutes before. And I remember she walks in and I'm hands and knees on the shower floor and she's touched my shoulder. She gets down low and it's really dark and everything. And she's hand on my shoulder and she goes, "How are you doing? How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I want to go home." And she's like, "Honey, you are home." I was like, "I know." There was a lot of crack ups in this birth. It was pretty funny. And then she was like, "Oh, can I see if I can get Bub's heart rate?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Just this once." Because I was pretty much, I don't really want any monitoring. I trust my baby. I trust my body. I didn't pack a hospital bag because I wasn't going to hospital. So if I had that hospital bag, I would think to myself, well, I've got the backup there. I don't need the backup. So I didn't pack it. But yeah, I didn't really want much intervention or checks or anything. I just wanted to trust myself. And yeah, that's why you birth at home, right? You trust yourself. And I was like, "Yep, okay." And she went to like have a look and she like couldn't get it straight away, but then all of a sudden I was like, "Get away, get away, get away, another one's coming, get away." And I'm like, "Turn the shower on." And she's trying to find the shower handle. It's really dark. And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's here." And I'm like, turn the shower on for myself. I'm still in that logical brain. Like I'm not thinking about birthing. I'm just thinking about where's the shower handle? Is everyone filling up the birth pool? What's going on? And then all of a sudden I felt this pop feeling. And I said, "Oh, I just felt something." And she's like, "Oh, what do you feel?" So I felt down and I was like, my eyes just widened and I could feel this really soft, and they were so beautiful. I can still remember the softness of how soft they were. His soft, tiny little toes. And in my mind, I was like, toes. It's a foot. And she's like, "A what?" And I said, "It's a fucking foot." Like I've like lost it, absolutely lost it. And she's like, "All right." And so she's obviously in her mind doing all her protocols of like, "I've got to call 000, like I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to sort out the second midwife." Because she'd all obviously messaged the second midwife, like, "I'm here, like everything's going fine." And then all of a sudden just her messages were like, "Breech, baby's here." Okay. Like that was just it. Like it was within 60 seconds, he was completely out of me. It was his foot come out, and I felt his foot, and then I like braced myself, and she just obviously looked at me and was just like, "You got this." And I was like, with zero fear, like not even an ounce of fear in me, I was like, I can't put him back in me, can't turn him around. We've got to, we're going. Let's just do this, yeah. And I remember with my first, I only could put my hand around just for a second and touch her head. And I just felt gross. Like it was my first and I didn't know what to expect. It was like, oh, yuck. Like there's this squishy little head and hair. So when he started to come out, he's obviously coming out quite quickly. And my contractions are just like bam, 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 like real quick. I was able to put both hands down and actually guide him out. And I remember my midwife saying, "Don't help him, don't help." And you can see in a photo, like she's put her hand through to be like, "Just don't help him, don't pull him out." I was like, "No, I'm not." I just had this urge, like this instinct in me to just be there and just hold him and just want to guide him into the world. And at one point, so he was arms and legs were out, and he was doing his little like
tummy crunch.
Yeah, that's the one. And he was actually doing a poo as well. So there's a bit of my poo in the photo and then his poo hanging out. And I've said I couldn't hold myself upright anymore. I needed to lean forward and put my hands down, but I didn't want him because we were in the shower. When his foot popped out as well, going back, when his foot popped out, my husband and my daughter were still out in the lounge room filling the birth pool. And I'm like, "Get in there, don't worry about the pool." But so yeah, everyone ended up all coming in and we got some beautiful shots of everything. But I remember when his head was still inside of me and I was like, I need to rest my hands down. I need to hold myself up. I can't get his head out of me this way. So I needed to go forward, hands and knees. And I put my hands down and I said, I need you to catch my baby. Like I need you to hold him. Can you hold him? Because I can't hold him anymore. And that was to my midwife. And that's when you see her, like you can see her coming from behind, like to try and grab him. Because I was so scared of him hitting his head on the tiles as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, his head just straight out of me. I definitely felt that. I didn't tear or anything with my first, but I definitely tore with this one's big head. And the biggest part coming out last. So That was, and very, very quickly. Like I said, it was within like 60 seconds, probably even less, 45 seconds, his entire body was out. And she passed him through my legs straight onto some towels in front, onto my good towels. She will laugh at this. I had my home birth trolley, had everything all set up, and they were all the old towels for all the blood and all the just the crap. And she grabbed my good towels. So all my good towels covered in blood and all this. It was so funny. But I've grabbed him and I said to her, "He doesn't look okay." And she's like, "Just pick him up." And I was like, "Okay." Picked him up, and then all of a sudden, like, there's this one photo of me holding him, and his arms are out like this. My husband's next to me, and he's like still got his torch on his phone, like looking at us because it was dark.
Yeah.
And I have this huge like smile on my face, like I just did that. And I had asked her, "Can you bring gas to my house? Can you give me sterile injections? Can you?" I am a bit of a little bitch when it comes to pain. So I was like, "I'm gonna need some pain relief. Please help." And that was that oh my God moment at the end. Like I just gave birth to him without pain relief at home in Breech. Holy shit. Like, and all of us, we were all cheering. Like it wasn't the birth space you'd normally see on like videos on Instagram and stuff like that, where the babies just come out and everyone's so quiet and calm and they're all cuddling the baby, and we're all just like that just happened. He came out at 5 to 6, so he was out within just under 3 hours,
Wow.
very quickly. But
Halved from your first?
so she was 6 hours, yeah, and yeah, so he was 3. But even my midwife will say we think that the environment that we were in afterwards of us all laughing and being excited and things like that probably also played a part in not being able to get the placenta out. So I wasn't able to get the placenta out with him either. So I sat on the shower floor for a bit, just snuggling in my nice warm towels and my nice new clean fresh towels and yeah, did a couple of pushes and tried to get some contractions going, and it just wasn't happening. I just kept bleeding. So then I was like, "Oh, let's just move to the bed." Moved to the bed to get a bit more comfortable, and it was starting to get bright outside. So like it was just brighter than like normal birth space. My daughter went and grabbed me some strawberries, and she's feeding me in bed, and she also was breastfeeding at the time too. So I was like trying to tandem feed to try and get some more contractions going. Then I ended up asking my midwife to have the injection to help it a little bit to like get it going, because I knew I already had trouble previously. Kind of figured like, not sure if this one will be the same, like just have it as a precaution. And I think she gave me one, maybe two, because I was like, "It's still not coming. Like, let's try and help it." And I remember I sat up and I said to her, I really don't feel too good. Like I'm not, I am going to vomit. Can you please get me the bucket?" And I remember holding
Mm.
him in the crook of my arm. She's given me a bucket, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I feel really sick." And I remember leaning forward, and then I was out. I'd passed out. I had fainted. I had lost quite a bit of blood. And I remember waking up, and my photographer, so has worked in like surgeries before where people have fainted and she's had to lift their legs up. So I've woken up with her with my legs in the air. She's not taking photos anymore.
Mhm.
She's got my legs in the air. And then my husband's on the phone to 000. And then my midwife is there trying to put a cannula in my arm. And I've woken up and I'm like, "What's he doing? Why are you so stressed out?" And she's like, "Trying to get this in my arm." And he's on the phone, and everyone's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And I'm like, "Calm down. You guys need to just chill the fuck out." And they were like, "Sweetie, you just fainted." I was like, "No, I didn't. I just had the best nap of my entire existence." And they're like, "No, no, no, no. You just fainted. You've lost a lot of blood. You fainted." I was like, "Wow," because that was a really good sleep. um, and yeah, so she's gotten the cannula in my arm, and I was making a joke with her.
Had the second midwife got there yet?
No, actually, she
So
didn't.
she's having to do all the things herself. Yeah.
Yes, but so the paramedics ended up coming, and they were taking forever, and we're like, "What's going on?" They rocked up and they were told a pregnant woman with tummy pains. So not someone's just given birth and lost a lot of blood. It was a pregnant woman
Yeah.
with tummy pains. So they turned up and they helped us out. My husband was standing on the bed holding the drip, like the IV bag, and my daughter remembers that as clear as day, like it was yesterday. She reminds me of it all the time. She's like, "Daddy was standing there and he was holding the bag up and I was giving you cuddles." And she's So beautiful. She remembers everything. Because I had a birth photographer at her birth, I made a little coffee table book of all her birth photos
Oh,
and
cute.
would show her everything that was happening, like you're in my belly and there's my vulva and you're going to come out of my vagina. And she's very switched on for 4.5 years old. She'll tell you the anatomy of everything. And she gets out that book and shows people. She's just like, that's mummy's vulva. And I'm like, baby, I don't think these people need to see. But I needed to prepare her because I knew she was going to be there. She remembers everything like it was yesterday. In the gallery of photos, like there's my husband and her. My husband's holding her as I'm getting into the ambulance. So it's taking me and my baby.
Placenta's still inside, right?
Yes, my
Okay.
placenta was still attached for over 6 hours. So, yeah, I've had some people say that that is the palest placenta they have ever seen. It had definitely, all of the blood had definitely been drained from it. So it was beautiful for my baby to get definitely all of the blood that he needed. Um, and my midwife also had to come with us in the ambulance. So it was just me, Bub, and my midwife, and my husband and my daughter came via car afterwards. I was a bit obviously upset having to go to the hospital. I didn't want to go there from my previous experiences. There are some photos that you would have seen where my midwife is holding me and I'm in tears. I just don't want to go there. And obviously I needed the help, so we had to go. But the paramedics wouldn't go with just me with the bag of fluid that my midwife had given. So my midwife, because they obviously don't know what's in the bag without putting that in themselves. So as a precaution, my midwife had to come with me in the ambulance. So it was just us.
I had that before. That's interesting.
It was odd. She was like, "Oh, well, it's literally
It says it on the bag.
it's on the bag, and I've put it in, but it's something different. They don't use that one." So they were like, "We can't take that."
Right. Okay.
She just ended up coming with my photographer, followed behind, and we got to the hospital. And there was this beautiful obstetrician. She was South African, and I mentioned she's South African because I needed her to distract me when she was trying to get the placenta out of me because pain and things for me. I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, tell me about the zebras and the elephants. Just tell me about something so I can get my mind off of you with your hands inside of me. But when she first come in, that adrenaline where you're shaking, the like the shock of afterwards, and your body's like coming down from all of the hormones and things. I was shaking so much. She would like put her hand on me, and I was like, "Please don't touch me." And she's like, "Oh, like I'm like," but I already didn't want to be touched by anyone in the hospital anyway. But she was so like, "Oh, okay," like very accommodating to how I was feeling. Didn't judge me for having a home birth. Didn't judge me for not wanting to seek medical care. She was just so beautiful. The next part, it sometimes like when I tell the story, it like brings a tear to my eye. So don't mind me if I get a little bit upset or shaky. I ended up having to be on the gas because she was doing quite an intense massage on my tummy. It was like a push and a roll. Like it was not something normal that the midwives would normally do. It was something that she said she had learned in PNG or Philippines or something, and she had saved a lot of lives by doing it this way or something. I just remember her saying that to me.
Sounds like it could be like a fundal pressure, and that can be used in a breech birth.
Yes.
But if she's trying to get the placenta down, whether she was doing fundal pressure, possibly.
Yeah.
Because it is that kind of rolling down movement.
It was intense. It wasn't like the normal, like I'm just going to give your belly a massage. It was, oh my God, just next level. So they put me on the gas. And I remember on my left-hand side, I was grabbing my photographer's legs. I had acrylic nails on too. So I was like in the back of her legs, grabbing her legs. I was grabbing my midwife's hand, and my midwife was like stroking my hair and whispering in my ear, like just being the best mum that she is. And I was just that breathing. And in the photos as well, you'll see me looking straight at the camera, and I'm like wide eyes, like I am not here. This just doesn't feel nice. And I actually thought I was dying. I could feel my body falling. Like I was probably just high on gas, but I could feel my body falling, and it was so heavy, and my ears were doing like this sound, and it just wouldn't disappear. And I could see a light. It's probably the light on the ceiling, but I could just see this light, and it was like I was falling, but I was going to this light, and I kept saying to my midwife, I'm not here, I'm going. And I grabbed her and I said, we hadn't actually named him yet. We had this name sort of picked and we were I'm not sure. And it's very fitting because he came out feet first.
Mm-hmm.
But I grabbed my midwife and I said, my baby's name is Walker. Please make sure my husband takes care of my kids. Because I actually thought I was dying.
Yeah.
And it felt so hard. And then all of a sudden, I was back. I looked at my midwife and I'm like, I'm back. Everything's fine. I'm back. So like I had like this near death experience, but then all of a sudden I'm back again. Like
Wow.
it was, yeah. And yeah, Walker, he came out feet first. He came out walking. So that's the running joke.
That is perfect. And you had that name picked before?
We had it sort of picked, like it was the only name on our list, but we hadn't 100% decided on it. And I do remember a midwife knocking on the door to the birth suite that I'd come into, and my husband and my daughter were at the door, and they were like, "Oh, can they come in?" And I'm like yelling out, "No!" And so the midwife, she's like, "No, they're not coming in." I did not want them to see me like that. It was especially my daughter. My daughter and I have a very close bond. My husband worked in Africa and he left for Africa when she was 8 days old. So just over 3 months, I think it was. So I did the whole newborn stage with her by myself. And it was COVID time as well. She was born 2020. So I was all alone all the time. But I loved it. It was great. I kind of said to him, I was like, when this one's born, are you going to go away again? Because I liked doing this by myself. It was actually, a lot of people kept saying like, that must have been so hard for you. Like, no, I enjoyed it. I didn't have anyone to be like, to like change a nappy. And I'm like, oh, you're doing it wrong. Or holding her and, oh, you're not holding her right. Or she's crying, just give it to me. Like, I just had it all to myself. So it was so nice. It was beautiful.
How long do you think it took from when the doctor started to try and remove the placenta to the point where it was actually removed? Do you know how long that was?
Actually, so she couldn't get it out. I ended up having to go into theatre, and I had a spinal block, and they removed it in theatre.
But able to be awake still?
Yes, yeah. But I was obviously separated from Walker for that time. I was able to get my daughter to cut his umbilical cord. She tells me every day, I made his belly button, Mum. She's so cute. So she cut his cord while we were in the birth suite, and then I got wheeled off into surgery. Yeah, they pulled it out there. So it was still in for quite some time. I didn't go in straight away. They obviously waited until there was a theatre ready and prepared. So yeah, we sat in there for just a little while and had a look at my tear, and that was fun. And I didn't get any stitches. I think it was a second degree, maybe first degree. Could have been second degree, I'm not sure, but it closed up by itself nicely. So I was like, I don't need any stitches or anything. I'll be fine. So, and it healed up perfectly fine.
And so you went to theatre, had manual removal. Did you stay in the hospital for a few days after that?
No. So because of my previous trauma, I opted to discharge myself, and I probably shouldn't have, because I came back 3 days later. I drove myself, probably shouldn't have done that either. But I went to the emergency department 3 days later and needed 2 blood transfusions and an iron infusion. So we stayed one night then. So after the placenta.
Do you know how much you lost?
I'm not entirely sure, no. I've never really asked. But after the placenta came out, we just had to wait until I could stand up and walk again so I could feel my legs. And then that's when I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm not staying any longer. So,
wow, what a story.
Yes. When we stayed the 3 days later, I looked as white as a ghost. Like you could tell I'd lost quite a bit of blood. And the midwives that were on, they put me into maternity ward after they'd given me the extra blood in emergency. They put me onto maternity ward, and that's where I got my iron infusion. But all the midwives, it was the older midwives that would say to me, oh, you must have been so scared. No, like I just gave birth to my baby. I wasn't scared. That's what you do. But all the younger midwives, the new ones, were like, you are badass. I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah. So that was nice. But even my auntie, actually, she just told me the other day, her son was born Breech himself, and she was like, that's badass for you to do that too. Like, so she's in her 60s as well.
So it's in the family.
Yeah.
So postpartum, do you want to share what that looked like, how your breastfeeding went? Were there any issues, especially after having decent blood loss?
So postpartum, I had obviously still the care of my midwife. She would come and visit me. I did have breastfeeding issues, well, him putting on weight, and he didn't lose any weight from his birth weight, but he was only putting on 50 grams every 8 days, and he looked very skinny. He looked like a really skinny old man, like he just didn't look healthy. Um, and we researched it that obviously blood loss can affect your supply. So we were like, well, it must be me then. But I never had any breastfeeding problems with my first at all. Like she was just a chunky monkey. So this was all new to me, like breech birth and now feeding problems, like everything. It's a whole entire different baby, whole entire different experience. And I was like, okay, so got a pump and I had like an amazing output. So it wasn't me, like I was just making enough milk. There was plenty of milk there. He then was getting this weird color in his nappy and it was crystal urate. So he was dehydrated. He was getting severely dehydrated. So I was then force feeding him after the boob. I was expressing on the other boob while he was on one. And then after that, I would try and feed him the bottle as much as he would take of what I just expressed so that he would try and put on a little bit of weight and he wouldn't obviously be dehydrated anymore. I think it got to like he was 11, maybe 10, 11 weeks old, and he was still just very sickly looking, just skinny little boy. And my gut feeling was just, it's not me. There's something going on with him. And his chin was tucked in. And
Like a receding chin.
yeah,
Yep.
and he had these two little dimples on his cheeks and had never noticed that before. And he had this little chin dimple as well, like it was like your Cupid's bow lines, but like just underneath of his lip. And I took him to the local orofacial myologist, and he was crying. He was extremely upset as soon as I walked in the door. She didn't even have to really look at him. He screamed, opened his mouth, and she was like, "He's severely tongue-tied." And I was like, "Oh, this makes so much sense." And there's a dentist here that does the laser for it. So I got her to call up straight away. She was like, "I'll call up the dentist now. There's two dentists you could do, but let's just call them up and see." And I knew from friends' experiences of you go to your consultation and they say, "Yep, you've got a tongue tie." Then you've got to wait 2 weeks because there's no appointments until 2 weeks. And so you've got to deal with this still tongue tie and upsetness and all this stuff for the next 2 weeks. And I was like, "I'm not doing that." You call up and you say, "I want a consultation and I want the procedure done same day." When I want stuff done, I'm get it done. So we booked it in and it was like for maybe not even a week later. And I got in there and he got his tongue, his top lip, and then his two top sides of his cheeks done.
Well, so he had a lot going
Yeah,
on.
completely different baby. As soon as that was all done, completely different baby. It was extremely traumatic for me because obviously waking up every 4 hours to do the stretches, to do the feeds. And I was obviously, as well, because my husband works away all the time, I was basically single mum doing this for two kids by myself. So that took a bit of a toll on my mental health as well as pumping to try and make sure he was still putting on weight. After that, he was like 250 grams in a week. And I was like, "Jeez, little fatty." So he was just having problems with his tongue. So I'm glad we got that fixed and everything because he'd just be really tiny and skinny. And that'd probably be child services after me because he's too skinny. But yeah, he's an interesting kid now. Like he obviously being born breech and then his mouth and his feeding and he likes to have his teeth brushed and he also likes wearing hats. I don't know any baby that likes
That's
having their teeth
hilarious.
brushed or wear hats. Like he's a different kid. He's very clever.
I had one of the interviews I did. She was talking about her midwife said explaining breech, and your baby just wears you as a hat. So
Oh my God, my friends say that all the time. Like, "You were his first hat." And I was like, "Yes, well, I was.
great, thank
First,
you.
I was a scarf, and then I was a hat or a beanie." We just go through all the levels, the t-shirt
Yeah,
stuck on your head.
a jumpsuit.
Yeah. Yeah. He also did the ultrasound on his hips and everything, and that was perfect. So we don't know how long he was breech for.
Whether he flipped last minute or
Yeah.
something.
The way he wanted to come out and he was supposed to come out. So we did it. Yeah.
So in addition to the orofacial and the dentist stuff, did he need anything else? Anything else he needed for adjustments?
So One of my best friends, she's a chiropractor, and I had been seeing another chiro while I was pregnant with my first, and then swapped over to her. And I've had my first adjusted every week since she was born, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've had him adjusted every week since he was born. Like, my chiropractor came in and saw me in the hospital. She was actually supposed to be at my birth. She'll get a laugh that she's now in this podcast, but she was supposed to be at the birth, and she actually was on their sailboat on Magnetic Island, floating around Magnetic Island. She's like, "Just call me and I'll be there." And I'm like calling and calling and calling, and she didn't answer because she didn't have any reception where she was out on the boat, because she was going to actually adjust me during labor so that obviously keep things moving, you know.
I don't think you needed help with that anyway.
No, definitely not.
That's fine.
Everything was moving fine. So she ended up coming to the hospital and bringing us some clothes, because obviously I didn't pack a hospital bag. So she brought us some clothes. She took my eldest with her to go get some food and get out of the hospital so that my husband could just be with me. And Barb took her to go and have a play with her baby as well. And yeah, and she checked over him then and there in the hospital too. So
Yeah, awesome.
that was great. With having tongue ties and things like that, they do say that as a part of the procedure, you should get chiropractic care done before the procedure and then ongoing afterwards as well. So I'll be doing the same with our eldest when she gets her tonsils out. So we'll see the chiropractor. But they know he actually falls asleep on the bed getting an adjustment. He loves it so much. We go weekly for me, and he will climb up on the bed. He goes, my turn, and he'll lay there and he'll get an adjustment and he'll fall asleep. He loves it. Well-adjusted babies.
Beautiful. So now that you've had that experience, knowing what you know now, would you do anything differently if you had another breech baby?
No, we didn't know he was breech, so he was completely a surprise.
Yeah.
But it's just giving birth to your baby, really. I think, though, if I had another baby, I'd still either hire a private midwife, or I'd probably just free birth. And then, knowing I've had troubles with placenta, I would like birth a baby and then go, let's go to the hospital now and get some help, because obviously we've had the drama, so don't want to go through that again. Yeah. And the hospital's like half an hour or so away from us, so still a little bit of a drive. People actually have given birth on the highway along here because they're on their way to the hospital.
Do you have any resources or anything that you would recommend? Like, since, and obviously it was a surprise, so you didn't do any research on breech during pregnancy by the sounds of it. Have you looked at anything after, or have you just kind of, I have my baby, done?
That's basically, yeah. Now, I do, though, since having my photos shared on social media, my photographers obviously shared them. My vulva and his foot have gone worldwide, so they've been shared all over all kinds of birth pages and things like that. And I've obviously like gone and looked at their pages and looked at their videos of like breech and things. And most of the breech videos and things that pop up are of Frank Breech, so it's always just the bum straight out, and that's about it. But I now also, our photos and a little excerpt of our story has been printed in the Breech Without Borders Physiological Breech Birth textbook. So
yeah,
that's such a beautiful book.
I'll have to have a sticky bit.
Yes, it's almost somewhere in the middle-ish. It's
great.
So beautiful. The gold pages on the side, so beautiful.
It is a beautiful book. Yeah. I just might add on here, because often when a foot's seen, it's instantly, it's a footling. Go for a cesarean. So I just want to clarify for those listening, if a baby is term, if we look at the nomenclature, so that's the description of types of breech, and specifically Germany, because they've got quite a few descriptions, and they talk about having a dropped foot. So you were 38 and 3. So we were a term baby. So it wasn't a footling, because a footling means that the hips are extended and the knees are extended. And a true term baby cannot stand inside the womb.
Yes.
So what's actually happened is we've got a complete or an incomplete, and then the foot has dropped as the cervix has opened, but the bum will still come down. So you're still waiting for those urges to push, which is exactly what you did. And so then the bum came down when the cervix was open and ready. I think that's really important, and it's something that needs to be shared more so that this changes, because unfortunately in a lot of settings, as soon as someone sees a foot, they label it footling and not thinking about the fact that this baby is term, that's actually got flexed hips, and then we have a potentially unnecessary cesarean. So it's really good to hear.
There would have been no time for a cesarean.
Well, no, that's it. It sounds like there was no chance of that. There wasn't even time
Yeah.
to transfer. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm lucky my midwife was even there. 5
It
minutes
just goes
before.
to show that your cervix was open and the
Yes.
baby's head was able to come through. So it backs that up a bit more as well. Do you have any words of wisdom or advice or anything that you'd like to share with anyone listening to your story now that has a breech baby on board?
Don't be afraid. You just got to trust your body and birth your baby. That's literally what I said to myself when his foot came out. I'm just going to birth my baby. I can't do anything else. So, yeah. And trust yourself, trust your gut. That's the main thing. Like, we get so many people in our ears of that's scary. Oh, like it's just a lot of fear mongering, but I did it and I'm a little bitch
Oh, that's great.
without pain relief. So I did it. If I can do it, anyone could do it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It was awesome to listen to. I feel like I just needed a cuppa and I just sit here and listen for more.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Breech Birth podcast. These stories matter. They stretch what we think we know and bring voice to experiences that need to be heard. I'm so grateful to the women who have shared their experiences with us, raw, real, and full of wisdom. If this episode resonated with you, please follow, share, or leave a review. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Breech Birth Podcast. And if you have a breech story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, may we continue to reclaim the narrative, one story at a time.